Hi there. This is Jean Roman with For Dragonflies and Me. Thanks so much for joining me at this week's podcast. As always, I'm super excited to be here sharing gardening, cooking, organizational tips and tricks, chatting about healthy lifestyles, and of course, having conversations with incredible entrepreneurs. Well, if you're a regular listener here, you all know I love to share the backstory on how I met and know my podcast guest. And so many of you also know I have been trying to attend as many networking events and workshops as I can in order to build my network, my resource list, as well as meet potential podcast guests. So again, you guys have been listening and following me, and you know that I recently sat on a panel for the organization Access during their quarterly leadership seminar. And I had the opportunity to talk about my story and how I started my entrepreneurial journey. So many of you may remember the episode with Aisha Maxwell from Access and the opportunities for one-on-one free career coaching. And I'll put that link in the episode description below as well, in the with additional resources. But we're going to get lots of resources with today's organization as well. So during that seminar, at the closing of the event, this incredibly nice, bubbly, happy lady approached me and myself and another one of the panelists and introduced herself. She went on to tell us who she was and what organization she was there representing. And well, to say the least, friends, I was super excited to meet and talk to her. She was interested, and I was so excited about this, to be a guest on and letting all of my wonderful listeners know all about her organization and what they do for female entrepreneurs and how they help build credibility, which is key here. So now I would love to take this opportunity to introduce today's guest, Veronica Johnson, Director of Certification for the Great Lakes Women's Business Council. Veronica, welcome. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to chat with you about what your organization does and how it assists women in building that credibility that so many of us need.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jean. It was a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing all the great opportunities that the WBEs, is what we call them, have to our organization. And excuse my voice, it is allergy season, so I am working through it. So bear with me, but we'll get through it.
I know I have my bottle of water and I already had my cup of tea with honey. So it is allergy season. And so I will be clearing my throat as often as well. So no worries.
Okay.
But again, if all my Dragonfly friends here, if you are a regular listener, you also know my primary focus here is geared toward entrepreneurship, especially building female entrepreneurs up. So this month, I have been focusing on resources available to entrepreneurs with a focus on what is available for minorities. So women, different races, and whatnot. And we are excited to be here. So Veronica, there I am clearing my throat. Why don't you first tell my listeners a bit about yourself and how you got involved with the Great Lakes Women's Business Council, and then we'll go into what it is.
Not a problem. So I've been with the council now for 17 years. So they've pretty much helped raise me. And so what happened was, yes, I was previously employed with the airport. My current employer, my recent employer, my past employer, excuse me, lost the contract. So we were laid off. And I am a very busy person, so I have to keep moving. I have to stay active. I can't sit idle for too long. And so I started to volunteer at the Great Lakes Women's Business Council. We used to be then called SEED. So some people still know us from our previous name of the Center for Empowerment and Economic Development. And so I volunteered there for about 5 weeks, and then they offered me a position to interview for. I got the position, and I've been here ever since.
Wow, what a story. You think about, I always talk about crossroads in life, right? And you think about where you were and what happened and how you were able to just pivot and get into this position. And I believe the universe has everything planned out for us. And you think about how this all took place and what you're able to do now for female entrepreneurs and helping them grow. I mean, that's really awesome. And I mean, what what a testimony to leave about yourself too, and all the work that you're doing to help people. So,
Yeah.
kudos to you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. But now let's get into the meat of what your organization does. So tell my listeners a bit about the Great Lakes Women's Business Council. I know there's a lot to tell, but maybe start with its target demographic and what qualifications are needed to work with your organization. And then we can move on from there.
Okay, so I'll just kind of give you a brief overview. We are a nonprofit housed out of Livonia. We are still being ran by our current executive director, who's founded the organization back in 1984.
That's awesome.
And so we are like the entrepreneur gurus, right? So we really work on startups and existing companies. Our specialty is the minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses, small-owned businesses, pretty much any type of business that is small-owned. We have a loan program. We have a women's business center, which we can get further, we'll talk about further. And then we have our certification program. So with those three strong programs, we have been in the now. We are a little bit of everywhere. We're growing still. And we're just here to assist all types of business owners.
That's awesome. And I am super excited to be involved with this organization very soon. So, during our initial conversation, you mentioned Great Lakes Business Council, Women's Business Council's niche target market. Can you tell my listeners a bit more about that and what it exactly entails?
Yes. Our niche target market for the different programs, I would say our loan program, we really work with the businesses that can't obtain the traditional funding. So if you can't go to your regular bank or your regular credit union to get additional funding. That's where our sweet spot is for our loan, our lenders, for our loan program. So they work really above and beyond to help the businesses, again, that can't get that traditional funding to be able to have access to capital. There's a program through them that if you're not ready for a loan, we'll help you to develop the skills that you need to be able to be ready for a loan. And even if it's not necessarily a loan through us, we'll get you ready for the bigger bank loans if that's what you need. For our Women's Business Center, our niche there would be the smaller women business owners as well. I really
No, Veronica, please, all of my listeners, and if you follow me on Facebook, we have Frankie Fridays, and he is my little pug that you may hear snoring in the background during this. So dogs are welcome at this podcast. I've had several join, even come up in the lap, and every now and then my cat Stormy, she joins us too. No worries. What's your puppy's name?
Good.
No, we keep it real here, Veronica.
Well, thank you. I love it. Because I'm like, wow. Like, really?
No, totally good. Call them up. Everybody'd love to meet them.
Right. So, yes, our Women Business Center, we go above and beyond in that program to help the smaller business owners to learn, again, the skill sets needed. So we're talking about everything from your financial statements. How do you understand it? How do you read it? How do you produce it? To, okay, I have this opportunity with this major corporation. I'm kind of scared. I don't necessarily have my pitch and stuff figured out yet. How do I craft that? So we help with all different types of things. So I mean, our niche is just business owners over, like we have huge.
No,
now the little one has to bark now. We have huge companies up to people that have over 500 employees to businesses that are just one person running the show. So it's just we're just it.
You guys are, and I think I mentioned to you, I got to meet one of your colleagues, Charisse,
Yes.
at just a recent SBAM networking event, an owner to owner. And I think you had actually mentioned that she was going to be there. So I was really happy to get to meet her. And, we sat along the bar. It was at a winery, and she just was a wealth of information. And she was like, I told her, you and I were doing the podcast, and I'm working with Aisha over at Access right now as my business coach. And she's like, well, you did this, and with our organization, this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like so excited to be a part of the Great Lakes Women's Business Council, and I cannot wait to be a member. But I know I'm jumping ahead now.
No, you're fine.
super
I love
excited.
the excitement. I love the excitement.
It was funny because she was saying you and Veronica got the same energy level. I was like, I caught that when we first met too. So we have
Yes,
to be energetic with what we do.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But there's so much information, Veronica, and you and your colleagues, the organization is just a wealth of resource information. Your knowledge provides so many budding entrepreneurs with an opportunity to develop and grow their business, their product, their service, whatever that is. Can you tell my listeners about Great Lakes Women's Business Council's continuing education and business resource centers? Because this was something I was like, wow.
Absolutely. So our Women's Business Center, we are one of three housed in Michigan. We are the largest and the most powerful of the three that we have here. So we rank number one in the state of Michigan. We rank number 5 in the national list. So there's 160 women business centers throughout the states. We are number 5 on that list. So we have an amazing team ran by my extraordinary colleague, Shantae Dixon, who is the director of education over there. They are always putting together some type of programs for our women business owners. We have a business development program out of that same program that's open to just more than female-owned businesses. It can be male-owned. You have to have some type of certification.
Okay.
So whether it's the MBE, DBE, the small business certification. So any of those certifications you'll be able to join into that business development program. But again, it's really just about meeting people where they're at and then helping you scale from there, right? So there's different levels of a program. So one program may be for just our startups, right? So people that are just kind of getting started. So they're like, we need the education on some of these basic foundational pieces. And then we have programs that may be for our businesses that have been 2 to 5 years. So they kind of have some revenue going, but they may be kind of stuck, right? So we're going to help them to learn different ways and avenues to help scale their companies up. We have mentorship programs. We call it Mentor We, where we have our large WBEs, is what we call our certified women's. We have our large WBEs that are looking to be mentors to some of the other women in the same industries that they can take up under their wing to help them to grow so that they don't make the same mistakes as they did coming up the pipeline, right? So there's constantly some programs developing. Shantae and her team are amazing. And so that's just a plug for them. Like if you're not involved in that Women's Business Center, you should absolutely be involved in it.
Well, actually, I just interviewed another representative from the SBA the other day, and she actually provided Shantae's information. So in my list of resources, she was there as well. And yeah, that was a great conversation with Lakita Johnson. And so she was a wealth of knowledge too. And I'm just like, man, there's so much here. I feel like, these podcasts, these resources are for the month of August. And I feel like I could go right into September with so many more resources. So I'm contemplating that because, it's like I've said, my podcast here, it kind of started as, it was meant to be a sister to my blog, and then to be, talking to people in the gardening industry, cooking, service industry, and then of course entrepreneurship and healthy lifestyles. But it's like no matter who I'm talking to, it always leads back into how they started their business. And so my podcast is my entrepreneurial baby, and I just feel like that is how it's evolved, and I'm not going to step in its way. I feel like, I've told all of my guests, no matter whether they're, have a foot on both sides of the fence with, they're still got their day job but they're starting their business, or they've been able to leave their day job, which I was finally able to do in December of, last year. And, there's so many different stages of entrepreneurship and business ownership. And I love having those guests because I always say if just one person can benefit from this conversation, then it was all worth it.
Exactly.
And so I knew right after our phone call, I was super excited to get started. And as I mentioned, I'm currently working with Aisha Maxwell with Access. She's my business coach and my mentor. I'm in the mentorship program there. And I'm so incredibly so incredibly grateful for her guidance and yours and Lakita's and so many other incredible women that I've met. But she's helping me right now get my LLC together and building a new website just for mine and not my blog. And so that I can get hooked up with the Great Lakes Women's Business Council to get my female owned business certification. So I'm super excited. And,
Yeah.
like I said, the resource center, I feel like, I was telling Lakita during our conversation, I feel sometimes, and I know other people must feel like this, just overwhelmed with all the resources and all the stuff. It's like, where do you start? And I think, your one-on-one counseling and accesses and SBAs, and it's like helping people, guide them into those necessary steps
Mhm.
and processes. And so, I am just, again, so grateful for your time and all of these other people's time for being here. I really feel like my certification, once I get it through you guys, is just going to add so much value to my reputation. And
Absolutely.
it does. It's like, even with coaches, when they have those certifications, it's like, okay, so this person is serious about what they're doing. They're taking the time to educate themselves to be a better business owner, speaker, whatever it is. So with that, can you tell my listeners what steps would they need to take to get their business registered with the Great Lakes Women's Business Council as a female-owned business, as well as any fees associated with that process?
Okay. So there's twofold. So if you are a woman-owned business, you may not fit the certification criteria, which I'll get into briefly. You still can join our council through our MI Women's Marketplace. So that's like a free, we call it the Facebook for Business. So that's like a free online directory. So all of our women-owned businesses go to that website, they sign up, they can do a lot of networking, marketing, and all that stuff. A lot of our workshops and seminars come out of that. They're free to join. It's free to join, so you can have access to all those trainings, and that's just at miwomen.com. So I wanted to just take a minute because even if you are a female owner and you only own 10% of a business that you're representing, you still have ownership in a business. So you're still technically woman owned. You're just not majority woman owned, right? And so we still want to have opportunities and trainings and things for those type of women too. And so that marketplace is a way for those women to still be kind of active in the council. And then on the certification side, if you are 51% or more owner, you manage, control, and operate your business, and then it's independent from any male owners or male companies, meaning you still can have male owners, you can still have contracts and work with male-driven companies. We just want to make sure that your company is independent of that, right? So
Mhm.
if they decide to retire, that doesn't affect how your company's operating. Um, that's a simple application process as well for the women that are like 100% owners, single member LLCs. The process can be completed in about 15-20 minutes, really. I mean, the application part, there is a lot of documentation that will have to come with it, but for the most part, you can kind of sit yourself down and get the application done. That application is done at WBENC link, which is WBENC.link.org. So our certification is a national certification powered by WBENC, although the Great Lakes Council would be the one that's actually doing the review of that. We are an RPO of WBENC, so we certify the businesses for them in the states of Michigan and Indiana. So that's how that's brought up. The fee for certification, it ranges from $350 to $1,250, depending on your revenue. So if you are under $1 million in revenue, your fee will be $350. If you are over 50 million in revenue, it will be the $1,250. And then it fluctuates between ranges in between those two criteria or those two caps. But I mean, that's pretty much all that it entails. If you fit, like I said, if you fit either one, the certification, if you're looking to have an extra marketing thing on your tool belt, if you're wanting to have access to corporations, getting certified, you have access to the WBENC link. So you then have contact information to over 900 corporations that use certified WBEs, and then you have access to the 20,000 certified WBEs. So that's just a way for you to have marketing knowledge, you're able to go into the system and pull reports of people that may be interested in your work, or maybe you're a WBE and you're looking to give back to other WBEs. You'll have access to be able to do that through that database once you get the certification.
That is really incredible. And that's kind of actually what Sharice and I were talking about too, because, with my cookbook, and she was saying, once, I'm a member of the Great Lakes Women's Business Council, there's access to that resources where there are, Meyer, Kroger, and so many other organizations that I can reach out to then and partner with to sell my cookbook. And so, friends, if you're listening, I know that's a lot of information what Veronica has given you. And like with every other podcast, we are going to have all those links provided in the description below, both at all of my blog posts for this, the podcast description, the YouTube description, as well as the Facebook event description. So don't worry if you missed something. We are going to definitely give you all those links, and you will be able to have an opportunity to look it all over, and definitely have an opportunity to reach out to Veronica and her team. But again, that's a lot of information, and it's just so incredible with what opportunities are out there that so many people just don't realize, small business owners, and those resources that, the Great Lakes Women's Business Council, SBA, and all these other organizations have for us. It's like there is a ton of stuff to get there. But Veronica, during our conversation, you also mentioned some partner organizations that your organization works with, and other certifications. Can you share some information about that, please?
Yes, absolutely. So as mentioned, we are a regional partner organization for WBENC, which is the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. So there are 14 of us nationwide. So if you are certified with either one of us, you're covered for the whole nationwide. So it would be as simple as just if you're certified through Michigan, but you got some work that may be going on in the Florida, you're able to just contact that council that covers that territory and kind of build a relationship with them, right? So that will then allow you to come to their events and get on their mailing list and things like that. Other organizations, there's so many different certifications diverse certifications that you can get. So the MMSCC, the Michigan Minority Supplier Development Council, they handle the minority certification. So if you're minority owned, based on your race, you can then get that certification, obtain that certification. There's the veteran certification through the National Veterans Supplier Diversity Council. So if you're veteran owned, you are able to get certified as a veteran. There's the LGBTQ plus community that has a certification. So if you fit in that criteria, you're able to get a certification for them. The WOSB, which is the Women-Owned Small Business, that's a certification that we offer as an additional certification through WBENC as well. But that's for your federal government contracting. So you have certifications that can cover you on a corporate side. So if you're looking to do business with any of the Fortune 500 corporations and things like that. And then you have certifications that can cover you on the federal government side. So all the federal government municipalities and things like that. So there's just a range of different certifications that you have access to.
Yeah, that again, there's just so many opportunities that I just think, young people, young entrepreneurs who are trying to start out, they just don't know all of the resources available. And, again, having these podcasts and, sharing this information out, I just feel like if it touches one person, right? And so one thing that I'm super excited for you to share about, Veronica, is a upcoming conference. And I just got this information as well. So I am definitely planning on attending, and it is in my calendar. Thankfully, the date does not conflict with when I'm going to be gone 2 weeks for my honeymoon. I was like, when you said September, I'm like, oh no. But I would love for you to share with all of my listeners about the Great Lakes Women's Business Council upcoming conference dates, what it entails, what takes place, where it's going to be. Give us all the details, Veronica.
Yes. That's one of our largest, that is the largest events that we throw throughout the year. That is our Women's Business Conference taking place September 26th and 27th at the Suburban Showplace in Novi. It is a phenomenal event. Last year was our first time having it back in person due to, of course, COVID kind of put everything out of whack. So pre-COVID, we had between 1,000 to 1,200 people in attendance for those conferences. Now, post-COVID, last year we were around 600. So we're hoping to be a little bit larger this year, just kind of to gain our momentum back to get up to those larger numbers. But it was well attended. We have the Meet the Buyers, where you can come and sit down with the different corporations that you may have been trying to get in contact with, but maybe your time's not allowing it, or maybe, emailing sometimes can get lost and things like that. But this will give you like access face to face with these buyers of these major corporations. So we have all of them: Ford, Chrysler, or excuse me, Stellantis, um, GM, a lot of our banks. We have schools there. I mean, it's a little bit of everybody in the building. And then we have our larger WBEs that they have some supplier diversity program where they have initiatives that they want to give back to other women-owned businesses, or they want to, a lot of our women would they love to support other women-owned businesses. So we have huge WBEs that will go through their contact list and go through their customers and say, you know what, I have this janitorial company. I'm going to switch from this one to a woman-owned one. I'm going to switch from Office Max, getting my office supplies from Office Max. I'm going to get it from AVE, which is a woman-owned office supply company. So you'll be surprised how many business connections are made at that conference. It's just we have a reception, so there's a lot of wine and a little dancing going on. So it's always a good time, right? And then for us on the staff side, it really helps to we kind of just get to see all of our hard work throughout the year, that what we've been doing. We're bringing everybody together. So we have our loan clients there. We have our woman business owners there. We have our people that have went through that business center are invited to come to this conference. So there's a mix of everybody in the room. It's just an amazing time, and I can't wait for it.
Well, that sounds exciting. I have a question though for that. Is this conference open to anyone, or is this a member only conference?
It is open to anyone. Now, there are events within that conference though that would be members only, because what we seem to find is, when we have our Meet the Buyers and things like that, they really want to meet with the ones that have that certification. So you may not necessarily have our WBE certification, but maybe you have an MBE certification, or maybe you have a veteran or LGBTQ certification. So you still hold a certification, so you would be invited to those events. But if you don't hold any certifications, then there are events that take place during that time that you wouldn't necessarily be invited to, but there's always other stuff going on in the background that you would have access to. You just wouldn't be invited to like the member only part.
Well, that's reasonable, and that's definitely an incentive to really seek out that membership because you can clearly see those additional benefits of membership. And so the other thing I did want to just talk about with the membership before we say goodbye is the membership fee is an annual fee, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that all the listeners are clear with that. But, Veronica, this has been another informative for Dragonfly and Me episode. And I cannot imagine any of my listeners who are here today just not being able to walk away with a wealth of information. So thank you again so much. And Dragonfly friends, thank you for joining us, Veronica and I here today. We sure thank you for your time as well. And if you are a female entrepreneur, if you have a foot on both sides of the fence, if you're contemplating, how do I start a business? What's the first steps? Reach out to Veronica and her team, and they can definitely guide you, with their organization or another partner organization to get you on track of where you want to go. And no time is like right now.
I think no time's like the present. That's what they say.
There's no time like now or something.
Yes. Whatever they say, that's what she means. That's what she means.
There you go. Thank you, Veronica. Teamwork makes the difference, right? But friends, to see more about the Great Lakes Women's Business Council, you can go to my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com, of course, and be sure to stop by their website at www.greatlakeswbc.org to get all kinds of information and to reach out to them. But if you are not following me here, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a beat. Follow me at my blog and my YouTube channel. This will be posted there as well. And of course, all my social media platforms. So, friends, I am so grateful for your time. Veronica, I'm so grateful for your time. And as I always say, until next time, friends, be sure to eat fresh, shop local, and have a happy day. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you.